Hi, and welcome to JD's Long Box. I'm your host, JD. For this 60-second review, we're taking a look at the first G.I. Joe comic that I ever got, G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero, number 48, featuring the first comic book appearance of Sergeant Slaughter. Published in 1986 by Marvel Comics, G.I. Joe is based on the action figure toy line created by Hasbro. This issue, as all of the A Real American Hero comics, was written by the legendary Larry Hama. The pencils were by Rod Whigham, the inks were by Andy Mushynsky, and the colors were by George Roussos. The story jumps in with a number of ongoing storylines. For an introduction to the series, this was a rough jumping on point. To me, the characters felt off from how I knew them from the animated series. And this is where I first learned that the comic series and the cartoon followed different continuity. The comic book stories were more complex and targeted an older audience than the animation, and to my dismay, the comics were serialized, so I had no idea what was going on. In this issue alone, we see Snake Eyes, sans his trademark black combat suit, lamenting the loss of his frenemy and ninja clansman Storm Shadow. Zartan, who has the chameleon ability to camouflage himself as anyone, sneaking around the Joe's base in a thrilling game of Catch the Doppelganger. Paratrooper Ripcord, who's disguised himself as Zartan, and has infiltrated the Dreadnought's gang to learn as much as he can about the Cobra operation from the inside. The US State Department in negotiations with Cobra agents to declare Cobra Island as a sovereign nation and therefore off-limits to the Joes. And we meet Sergeant Slaughter, who has no qualms about cold-cocking gung-ho to determine who's the imposter. The pencils work really good in this issue. Rod Whigham gives us detailed backgrounds, good use of perspective, realistic weapons and tech, and the characters are all easy to identify even when they're out of their usual costumes. Andy Mushynsky's inks brings the art to life, keeping the intricate details and adding shadows and depth. When I first read this comic, I hated the colors. They were flat without the shading and multiple light sources we're used to now. The low-quality printer technology of the time and the cheap pulp paper this was printed on really ruined it for me. But having looked at modern digital restorations, I have a new appreciation for what George Roussos was doing. With a limited color palette, he was able to present the Joes in multiple shades of green, and the Cobras in various hues of blue, keeping them all true to their designs and providing clear separation on each page. The writing gets a 9, the colors gets an 8, the inks gets an 8.5, and the pencils gets a 9. This adds up to an 86%. This was one of my very first comic books and led me to eventually find the larger world of military fiction. Larry Hama and all the artists that worked on this series should be commended for taking a licensed toy property and filling it with so many memorable characters and densely packed storytelling. I hope you liked this 60-second review. Be sure to like and subscribe and then check out some of my other videos. If you're curious about where this long-running series has gone after 40 years, be sure to check out my review of G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero, number 301. And if you're interested in other military fiction, be sure to check out my review of The Nom. I'm JD, and until next time, this box is closed.